I'm Kelly Hogan, and I am a total carnivore, which means that I only eat animal products. I am also a total human, which means that I sometimes eat emotionally, emotional eating. Day after day, one of the most common messages I receive is, Kelly, I was doing great on my carnivore diet until this happened. Life, hard life. Something bad happened. And then I started emotionally eating junk food, and now it's hard for me to get back on track. And sometimes us carnivores, when something hard happens in life, we don't turn back to sugar, but maybe we turn to lots of dairy that makes us feel bad. Or perhaps we're eating really great foods, but we're just eating, even though we aren't hungry, just because we're tired or lonely, anxious, bored. It's something to do. So let's first acknowledge that there's nothing new about turning to food when our emotions are high. For example, my dad is a Baptist minister, and in our church, if somebody passed away, the first order of business was who was going to bring the fried chicken, the basket of rolls, the deviled eggs, and a pie. Stat. For many of us, we did not just comfort eat at a funeral. That may have been where it started. That was our gateway comfort eating. But we probably turned to sugary foods for any number of reasons. I did not need a huge situation to turn to Little Debbie. That girl, Little Debbie, she had a hold on my heart. Even on sunny days in June when things were swell, I could find a reason to need comfort. So it turns out that there are some people out there, aliens, like my husband, who can moderate processed, sugary junk food. Like, it's not good for them, but they can have a little, they can move on. There are those people, and it turns out I am not one of them. I became highly addicted to those foods because, first of all, that's what they were designed to be, highly addictive. Secondly, I had started to rely on those substances as just a coping mechanism. So there are people out there when they feel uncomfortable or they feel something very challenging, they turn to alcohol to just numb it away and to take off the edge. There are people out there who turn to harder drugs or even behaviors. They'll turn to pornography, online shopping, even like just zoning out with technology, gambling. But in my case, I used sugar and processed carbs. And honestly, that made sense for me in the past. Like many of you, I was shown love with those foods when I was young. I was comforted with treats. We celebrated with ice cream. When I was sad, I was given comfort food. The fact that we actually called it comfort food is right. But most of us weren't taught a lot of other coping techniques. It's not like people said, hey, you know what? Let's take a comfort walk. Let's get a comfort hug, or maybe you need a comfort shower. It's just food. The good, the bad, you got a shot. Does it hurt, sweetheart? Come on, let's go get some candy. Just sugar. So now that many of us, we're here, we're carnivores, we've cut out sugar and carbs, we've cut out the processed foods, and maybe now, like physically, you feel good, but we don't really know how to cope with emotions. We don't know how to self-soothe without those foods. It's like somebody took away our favorite little lovey, right? This first part of the video is probably going to seem a little bit obvious and kind of hokey, but I'm going to talk it out anyway because this is the most common advice given for emotional eating. And I'll be honest, this first bit of advice has not actually been that effective for me, but just in case someone out there watching is not named Kelly Hogan, it's possible that these first techniques will work for you. I am saving what was most effective for me after this, but I'll try to make this short. The idea is that we use some non-food ideas to cope with challenging feelings. That can be what most people would call like self-care without substances that hurt and harm our body and our future health. So things like spending time in nature, taking a bath, a shower, drinking a lovely seltzer. Don't know about you. Some people cannot handle flavored seltzers. These are not sweetened, but things like Waterloo or Aha or Bubbly. If you don't love them, that's okay. I've got other options. Perhaps you could paint your nails, do your hair, use a face mask, take a nap, lay on a blanket in the sun, turn on some music that makes you happy, use a foot massager, go get a massage, do some breath work. Maybe you could do a hobby. Do you have a hobby? Maybe it's just coloring or drawing, paint by numbers, dancing, weightlifting. Perhaps you're a musician. Make some music. Be creative. Crochet, knit, do a puzzle, a word puzzle, Sudoku. Okay, you can turn to exercise instead. Do some yoga, go for a walk, take a hike, play pickleball. Have you thought about pickleball? You could also use that moment to focus your energy onto something really productive. So maybe you clean the house, or you clean out a junk drawer or closet, you organize something, you make a new meaty recipe that you normally say, I don't have time for. Look, you've got time to sit and have this emotional moment. Let's put this emotion, this energy to good use. You can work in the garden, weed a garden area, read a book. There's something called practicing mindfulness. You can list the things that you're grateful for. You can take time to just deeply breathe, go to your happy place, either mentally or physically go to your happy place. Look at pictures, remind yourself of things that bring yourself joy or people that bring you joy. Sometimes I'll read scripture that helps to put things just back into perspective and bring me some peace. You could utilize some relaxation strategies, whether that's squeezing a stress ball or using a relaxation app that'll talk you through like calming down. There's the Calm app. You could use aromatherapy and some essential oils. Try some progressive muscle relaxation. There are some videos online that are completely free that'll walk you through the tensing of each muscle and then how to relax them and focus while you breathe. You can also write in a journal. All right. All of those ideas, I think they're great. If we were to regularly do some of those things, I do think we would be more fulfilled and less likely to turn to harmful foods and harmful behaviors in every little situation in life. That is the more, I would say, common advice. If you just look up how to solve emotional eating, that's kind of what you get. To be perfectly clear, when I was eating addictive foods, all of the addictive Little Debbie processed junk garbage. There is not enough paint by number, take a walk, deep breathing meditation on earth that was going to make me suddenly able to not emotionally eat those foods that were super addictive and that I was just absolutely hooked on. I'm sorry, but those strategies to me were completely worthless until I changed the food that I was eating. Now, as a carnivore, I could say, yes, being carnivore plus some of those strategies, yeah, okay, that might work. But I want to take it a little deeper today. I personally had to learn what is called willingness. A psychiatrist described willingness as being able to, yes, be willing to sit with an uncomfortable feeling or emotion. So right now, I can think back to a moment when I was so hurt by someone that I know, not a family member or not even a really close friend, but somebody that I considered a friend. I felt betrayed and angry. I wanted to cry or scream. And honestly, I just wanted this person to regret being so mean and cruel. I was in a rough place feeling some really hard things. This was only about a year ago. So yes, I was totally carnivore. I knew all about breath work. Yes, I in fact did know about paint by number. But in that moment, I knew, I mean, I was feeling like this, like the buzzing of bees, that level of, oh my gosh, intense feelings. And I knew I could make the buzzing of the bees just stop for a minute if I were to turn to certain foods, particularly a gallon of very cold, sugary, scoopable food. Hello? It would have distracted me. It would have made the noise stop for a little bit, what, 5, 10 minutes? And then what? Well, I have to really stop and think. I would have had the same situation. The same friend would have said the same things, and my feelings would have had the same level of hurt. There is no food and no alcoholic beverage that would change what had actually happened. If I binged on the sugar, then afterwards, same situation, same life, same friend, same pain. But now, with the addition of bellyache, carb cravings, regret, shame, acne, joint pain, all of those friends would have joined the party. I would have been 0% closer to fixing my real problems. And to me, this is just like somebody who says, oh, it's been a hard day. I'm going to choose alcohol or hard drugs to run away from what I'm feeling. And that's not how I want to be. That's not how I want to live my life. Even if it's not alcohol, but it's ice cream, is that any better, really? So around the same time that hurtful situation was happening and the bees were swarming, I was also taking this online course on how to deal with emotions. That's not why I was taking the course. I was taking it to learn how to better help my group members. And then I needed it. But I learned in that course that one of the first steps is to really clearly label what is being felt. Don't judge it, just label it. So I told my husband, I said, I want to tell you exactly what I'm feeling. By the way, James had nothing to do with this situation. And like many husbands, he probably didn't fully need to know or care. But I said, I need to tell you in detail exactly what I'm feeling. I do not need advice or a solution. I just need the cone of safety. All right, the cone of safety is something I got from a radio show when I was a teenager. It was called the Bob and Sherry Morning Show. And if one of them had something that they needed to talk out, but they felt like they might be judged for it, they would say, okay, look, I need the cone of safety. And there was this sound effect. It was like, shoo, and the cone of safety would be engaged. And everybody understood that while in the cone of safety, whatever you are feeling can be shared without judgment. It will not be brought up later like, oh, but I remember that thing you said in the cone of safety. No, you don't. You don't remember it. It was in the cone of safety. So if you don't have a spouse that you could ask for the cone of safety, you could ask a friend, you could use a journal, you could tell it to God. He's always got the cone of safety, right? But I explained to my husband that I was feeling so betrayed and hurt and angry. And I labeled out those emotions very specifically. And I tried in that moment to not think of these emotions and feelings as bad or sinful in any way. It's just simply how I was feeling at the moment. They weren't me. I didn't say I defined me. In other words, I didn't say, I am angry, I am mad, I am sad. I just said, I'm feeling intensely sad and angry right now. I even admitted that I wished to have some form of revenge, not like physical vengeance on this person, but like I want them to regret being so mean. And then, like, take a breath. I try to remind myself that feelings are, in fact, part of being human. I am not a rock or a tree or a cow. I have deep and complex feelings. I was created this way. I am human. In fact, I'm a female human. We feel things, right? Humans feel things. Being able to feel something painful is part of life. And I don't have to do anything to make that go away. I can label what I'm feeling, and then I, as a human, get to choose exactly how I want to deal with that. So in that course, I learned that it's very helpful to think, where do I feel the emotion in my body? Do I feel like the tightness in my neck and shoulders? Do I feel gut punched? Does it feel like a clenching in my chest? Is it sort of like hard to breathe? Where do I feel it? Can I work on relaxing that part of the body and saying, I feel that sadness in the pit of my gut. I feel this tension, the anger as like a burning in my throat. Acknowledge where you feel it. We can talk it out, write it out, reflect on where you feel it. We can think about possible solutions. But I don't have to actually do anything quickly because I have acknowledged that it is okay to just feel this this discomfort, this uncomfortable feeling, knowing that it won't hurt me. I don't have to play the hot potato, get rid of it game with my emotions. I can just remember that these emotions and feelings cannot physically harm me unless I suppress them and I never address them and I pretend they don't exist. Bottling it up could actually hurt me. What I choose to do about them could definitely hurt me. What I choose to eat in that moment could hurt me. So the sadness that I allow myself to feel, that I talk about, that I write about, the sadness itself cannot harm me. But the processed junky foods could. All right, that's good to acknowledge. Here's a quick thought too, came to mind. Doing really hard workouts, lifting heavy, powering through really hard workouts is a great way to train your brain and your body on how to deal with discomfort, how to deal with hard things. So we become more gritty and physically tough by making ourselves do physical challenges that push our limits. And it can make everyday struggles, mental struggles even, seem more possible to overcome. Next strategy, if you do struggle with emotional eating, try checking in with yourself throughout the day to just simply label what you're feeling. And this does not need to be done just in an intense moment. You say, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed. That's not the time to practice anything, right? You're going to feel sort of out of control. But we can do this on a daily basis. Check in. Say, okay, in this moment, try it right now. Exactly what are you feeling? Is there a little bit of a nervousness? Do you feel a little glum? Do you feel okay, calm, relaxed, tired, safe, thankful, frustrated? Whatever it is, just reflect on it. Practice the art of naming what you are feeling while you're in a more workable, calm moment. And that makes us better at doing it even in the more intense times in life. So daily reflect on what we're experiencing in our mind, give it a label, think about where do we feel that in our body, and we actually get good at the art of doing that. Here's another little trick. I thought this was goofy at first, but I've been practicing it. I think there's something to it. Ask yourself, even in the less than fun moments, the hard moments, what is the best part about this moment though? So which part of this moment is kind of okay right now? So even if you're hurting, even if it's awful, you're crying, you want to punch a wall, but there's a nice song playing in the background, or at least the sun is shining, or my gosh, everything is awful and falling apart, but these socks are my cozy socks. I'm wearing my cozy socks. That's the only good thing about this moment. Maybe that's it. Acknowledge that those things, they're nice. Little gifts, small blessing, even in the middle of a very hurtful moment in time. Constantly allow your brain to find the okay parts of the situation, and it trains yourself to not just dwell on the bad. So let's say worst case scenario, like you're being held hostage. Okay, that's a bad day. I fully acknowledge that's a bad day. But maybe there is a nice aroma, or there's a really good old Billy Joel song playing, or maybe your manicure is still like pretty good. So acknowledge, yes, this is so bad right now, but it's not all bad. It is training your brain to always look for the slightly better parts, and it allows us to see the full picture, the good, the bad, the ugly, and that allows our brain to feel a little more safe and less overwhelmed. It's also good to remind yourself that all feelings and emotions have good reasons to exist. They're not to our detriment. They were given to us for a reason. Okay, a few examples. So if we feel, say, guilty, that could lead us to ask, did I do something wrong? Ask yourself. That's a great question to ask ourselves if we're feeling guilty. If the answer is yes, then okay, I did something wrong. I need to work on that. How can I fix what I did? Make amends. Guilt can lead us to right our wrongs and to repair our relationships. If the answer is no, I didn't do anything wrong, okay, well, that's good to know. We can let go of this guilt. We could even go to a person and say, you know what, I have this weird guilty feeling today. Have I done anything to hurt you? If the answer is still no, then we can release ourselves from guilt. You may be feeling something, but labeling it as guilt may not be helpful. Okay, another example. If we feel the feeling of anxiety, fear, or worry, and that's how we're labeling it in our body is fearful and worry, then we can ask ourselves, but am I safe? Because the feeling of fear and anxiety is good. It leads us to safety. Are we in danger? If the answer is yes, I am. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, get out of the road or leave the lion's den, get back away from the cliff. You're in danger. That's a good feeling to feel. So fix it. Get safe. But if the answer is no, I am not actually in danger, then let yourself know that. I am busy, I am stressed, I may be frustrated, but I'm safe. I'm safe. So then we can work on calming down our nervous system, talk through the fact that we don't need to feel fear. We can feel it in a more rational way. Maybe you feel excited about a project or a little unsure about something. Maybe you feel a little overwhelmed, and so making a checklist would help. But allowing our body to feel it as fear when we're not in danger keeps us stuck in this fight or flight mode. This is our sympathetic mode. Breath work, breathing slowly and deeply like a safe person would breathe, is a very research-based way to switch us from our sympathetic fight, flight, freeze mode to more parasympathetic rest, digest, and heal. So do a little breath work, perhaps. Breathe like a safe person and let yourself know, I'm busy, but I'm safe. You might even use a moment of gratitude. Thank you, God, that I am safe. Safe. And those are just a couple of examples, but our emotions, even the uncomfortable ones, like I just named, they serve a purpose. They motivate us to make changes in our lives. They give us warning signs about our own safety. They connect us to other people who may be feeling similar things. They can even connect us with our Creator, who gave us emotions in the first place, which He did not, in fact, give the same emotions to rocks and trees or cows. Think about it. Scripture says that God Himself felt angry and jealous and even sadness. Jesus Himself wept. If Jesus Christ felt something other than happiness and joy, then why should I hold myself to a higher standard than that? In other words, it's not sinful to feel sad, mad, lonely, left out. We don't need to feel scared of those feelings. We don't have to hot potato get rid of them, hide them, pretend they don't exist. We don't need to blame ourselves for feeling something and then determine this is bad, this is bad. No, just acknowledge. I feel something. I'm going to label what I'm feeling. I'm going to try to determine, is there an underlying reason that I'm feeling it? Is there a way to fix it? It may help to try to see this story in the simplest version without all of our added assumption and commentary and conjecture. Whew, that's called the dirty pain of it. We add so much to a story. So when my friend had apparently said something very hurtful to someone else about me, and then it got back to me, then my brain ran with it. She's probably telling this to everybody. She's doing this because she hates me. I've been betrayed, and all of this conjecture. When in truth, we're just adding to our own pain. We cannot possibly know everyone's motives or backstories. We don't know the full picture. We don't know why something was said or what was happening in their day. We don't know the motive. And if we tell ourselves, I do not know the full story, there's probably more to this than I know. I'm feeling hurt right now, but I can't possibly know the motive behind everyone involved. I can't control everyone that's involved. I don't even need to control how I feel about it. But I am going to control what I do. And right now, I'm just simply going to choose not to hurt myself with food choices or with anything else. So instead of hurting myself with an awful choice, I'm just going to acknowledge how this feels, where I feel it in my body, and remind myself that I'm safe, that it's okay to feel this, to give myself reminders. There's no rush to make this pain go away. There's no rush to decide how I'm going to deal with it or what happens next. In fact, I'm going to give myself time to decide that I'm going to feel this as a part of being a human being. This is part of the human experience. This will get easier the pain is going to become less and less. My thinking will become clearer, and then I can decide how to react later. In that meantime of I still feel it, we get to choose purposefully what to do, and you might want to focus your time and attention into something that actually matters to you. So maybe you say, in this moment of hurting, I'm going to choose to go play with my kids. I'm going to choose to take the walk or clean the house. Maybe you do something nice for a friend, and just check in with yourself and just emotionally say, still feel the tightness in my chest. I still feel the hurt and the anger. It's okay. But for right now, I'm choosing to work on this project. I'm going to clean this drawer because that matters to me and it needs to be done. And I can still feel this while I do it. Please do not pretend that the pain isn't there. In fact, talk to it. Yes, anger, I know you are still there. I see your jealousy. I see it. I still feel it. It's okay. It hurts. I feel betrayed. But there's no rush to get past it. I'm just going to feel it. And in the meantime, I'm going to weed this garden. I'm going to play with my kids. I'm going to grade the papers, whatever it is, because these things matter to me. And I will choose what to do about this anger later, but I can allow it to exist. And then when you're ready, emotionally, you feel ready to make a choice, to either talk to the person, to just pray about it, to write about it. Whatever you choose, we can then do it rationally and not because we're trying to hot potato get rid of this emotion that we can't cope with. And at that point, we can choose what we're going to eat, and we can choose it because it's good fuel and not because I need to numb myself and self-medicate in the same way that a person would do by shooting up or drinking a lot of alcohol. I will choose my food based on my nutritional needs and not based on my lack of being able to handle what I'm feeling. All right, here's another reminder when it comes to food. Staying full of nutritious meat will always help us to avoid the temptation of emotionally eating a bunch of junk food. So eating a carnivore diet really does help most of us to feel more calm and able to handle our emotions. We call it the zero carb zen. It helps that carnivore has more simplified and streamlined food choices, right? Like most things are off the table because we have chosen to eat only animal products. So we are less likely to turn to all of these other toxic junk foods to cope. Also, our food is very satiating. So we're far less likely to binge on a nice fatty steak when we're overwhelmed than if we were throwing down a crunchy bag of potato chips, right? So if you're going to do some emotional eating, I hope you'll at least eat the foods that offer all of the macro and micronutrients that we need. Hello, that is meat and eggs. Label those things as comfort foods if you like. I have certainly been comforted by a warm bowl of soft scrambled eggs, or crunchy bacon, or a delicious, perfectly cooked ribeye. But then past that, I hope we can also find ways to feel and experience life in all fullness, all emotions, without needing any food, even good foods, to help us to cope. We are created to experience all parts of life, the pleasant and the more challenging. And remember that we are the ones in charge of deciding how we're going to cope with the emotions. So let's choose wisely. If you need group support, a coach, a place to share what you're going through, some help figuring out, maybe it's a frustrating weight loss stall, or you just want to hang out with really like-minded people, I have a group for that. Join us. I'll go ahead and tell you that May coaching is sold out and June groups are enrolling now. You are in control of your fabulous wagon. So let's make great choices. We're not falling off of someone else's wagon that's driving out of control. Even in a really emotional, overwhelming moment, there are strategies that can help us to cope, to feel all the feels, and to make choices that serve us and that do not harm us. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.